Good afternoon. This is meteorologist Jennifer Ritterling, and today we have a short video talking about the different types of flooding we can get across eastern North Dakota and western Minnesota. First, we're going to compare flash flooding that we typically get during the summer to river flooding that we get during the springtime, and those differences are important to keep in mind for when you hear us issue warnings. Then I'll talk about the causes and different types of spring flooding, such as snowmelt, ice jams, and overland flooding. And then finally, a safety message. First of all, flash flooding, which is when water is rapidly rising. It typically occurs within 6 hours of the event that caused it, most commonly caused by heavy thunderstorm rainfall, which is why most of our flash flood products are issued during the summer. But flash flooding can also be caused by ice or debris jams, or sometimes even a levee or dam failure. Flash flooding tends to be worst in uneven terrain and in urban areas because the water runs off concrete very quickly and can cause flash flooding. While we are pretty flat out here in the northern plains, we do get flash flooding sometimes. A few years ago in winter North Dakota, there was 6 to 8 inches of rainfall from an overnight thunderstorm, and unfortunately one death as a vehicle was swept away. So flash flooding is very dangerous and something we definitely want you to keep an eye out for. Now the river flooding that we get this time of year is a different animal. River flooding is just the rise in river levels above established flood stages, usually slower than flash flooding, in the order of days or even weeks instead of hours. River flooding is usually categorized into minor, moderate, major, and record, and it can be caused by excessive rainfall during the summertime, snowmelt this time of year, ice jams, and dam failures. The river flooding that we get, unlike flash flooding, is forecasted at specific points along the river, which you can see in the little circles on the map. The little triangles are data points where we get an idea of how the rivers are behaving in that area, but we don't actually issue a forecast for them. So, for example, we'll take Wahpeton down here. You click on that little circle there, and it brings up the trace of the river levels as it's moving from action stage to minor flood stage and into moderate. The blue line is the reported river levels, and the purple line is the forecast. Now, a lot of this river flooding, especially this time of year, is caused by snowmelt. Of course, whether we get snowmelt flooding on a particular year depends on how much snow we receive and also how much water is in that snow. Soil moisture, on the other hand, also matters. How wet were we during the fall before everything started freezing up? The frost depth matters. If there is a large portion of soil frozen, water will flow off very quickly and into the rivers. The river ice conditions matter. Speed of the spring melt matters. So for example, right now we're getting a fairly slow melt where it is warm during the day and then drops below freezing at night, and that's making a nice slow melt. And that is a good thing if we want to avoid a lot of snowmelt flooding. And of course, rain or more snow on top of the current snowpack can make things worse. Then there are ice jams. And this is when ice is breaking up during the springtime, and the chunks of ice get caught along bridges or sharp bends of the river channel. The ice then acts as a dam, and the water spills outside of the banks behind that ice jam. And sometimes those ice jams can occur fast enough for a flash flood situation. Another type of flooding that we can get here in the northern plains is overland flooding. And that often isn't even near any kind of river or creek, but is just standing water for rain or snowmelt. It, of course, has a huge impact on agricultural interest, but the overland flooding gets bad enough to affect roads. We at the National Weather Service will issue an aerial flood product. And then, of course, for all types of flooding, particularly flash flooding, but all types of flooding, we really do not want you to drive into the floodwaters. You never know how deep it is. You don't know how fast that water is flowing. Only about 6 inches of fast-flowing water can float a car away. So we have the saying, turn around, don't drown. So I thank you for listening to our little information video, and have a good week.